Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or The Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be going in depth into my week number 15 DraftKings Contenders, talking about my top 8 quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends in terms of Stokastic projected optimal percentage. But before we could get into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, to please make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help us out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter, gonna fly onto the screen right now. Please do so at Notorious FNTSY. I hope you guys do end up enjoying today's video. It's sponsored by BetMGM, who we're gonna be talking about a little bit later. So without further ado, let's get into my week number 15 DraftKings Contenders. We begin with the quarterback position at number 8 with Tom Brady of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going up against the Cincinnati Bengals at home in Tampa, 5,500. Joe Burrow of the Bengals going up against the Bucs in Tampa, 7,000. Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville, 6,200. On DraftKings, and the true breakdown begins with number 5, Mystic Mac Jones of the New England Patriots going up against the Las Vegas Raiders in Viva Las Vegas, $5,000 on DraftKings this week. Projected for 17.3 fantasy points over on Stokastic.com. The Patriots are 16th in implied point total with 21.75, tied with the Tennessee Titans. They are 1-point dogs, 6.9 optimal percentage. Very nice. I like 7.9 boom percentage as well. Now, Mac Jones, realistically, the Raiders ranked 32nd in pass DVOA, so this should be a smash spot for Mac Jones. The problem is Mac Jones has been very bad this season. He is averaging around 11 fantasy points per game, and while this is the wet dream matchup, this is the best matchup he has. I'm just not too sure how confident I am in him because of his play thus far this season. At number 4, we move to the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton of the Saints going up against the Atlanta Falcons at home in New Orleans, 5,200 projected for 17.3 fantasy points. The Saints are 7th in implied point total with 23.75, tied with the Cincinnati Bengals, 3.5 point favorite, 7.3 optimal percentage with a 6.3 boom percentage. Another quarterback that hasn't been great this season that is in an amazing matchup, though I do trust Andy Dalton slightly more because we've actually seen a couple of good games out of Dalton this season, and obviously it is a great stack to stack him with Chris Olave. Again, the Atlanta Falcons are one of the worst defenses in the NFL, so it makes sense why we have Andy Dalton as the 4th most optimal quarterback on the week. At number 3, we have Justin Herbert, the pervert of the LA Chargers, going up against the Tennessee Titans at home in LA, 7,200, projected for 21.9 fantasy points. The Chargers are 6th in implied point total with 24.75. They're 3-point favorites, 9.1 optimal percentage with a 7 boom percentage. The Tennessee Titans just got their back blown out by the Jacksonville Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence. The Chargers ended up doing my Miami Dolphins very dirty last week, absolutely destroying us. Hard to watch as a Dolphins fan. Justin Herbert looks back, I might add. He looked definitely the best he's looked all season, but that makes a lot of sense because he's not as hurt as he was to start off the season following that Chargers game against the Chiefs, which was really early on in the season. And now he has all his weapons back. Keenan Allen, he has Mike Williams, he has Austin Eckler, obviously, Gerald Everett. There are a lot of cooks in the kitchen when it comes to the LA Chargers, and honestly, I love Justin Herbert this week at $7,200. At number 2, we move to Jalen Hurts of the Philadelphia Eagles, going up against the Chicago Bears in Chicago, 8,200. On DraftKings, projected for 24.6 fantasy points. The Eagles are 2nd in implied point total on the week with 28.75. They are 9-point favorites, 10.4 optimal percentage with an 8.8 boom percentage. In terms of my favorite quarterbacks on the week on DraftKings, I honestly think Jalen Hurts is my favorite, and that's why he is priced so heavily at 8,200. And I assume everyone and their mother also has the same idea that I have, that Jalen Hurts is a really fucking good play. The Chicago Bears defense is soft as baby shit. This should be an incredibly easy matchup for Hurts, and we just saw Hurts lay it on. He laid a pipe to the Giants last week, and that could easily happen up against the Bears. But the best part about this matchup is with Justin Fields under center, I know their team's pretty banged up, but Fields could fight back into the game. Fields could push Jalen Hurts to have to throw the ball more late in the game. Fields could push this game to be high enough scoring to where Hurts is going to have to actually do stuff in the 4th quarter, and he's not going to get benched for Gardner Minshew because they are just torching the other team. Moving to number 1 now, we kind of have, it was pretty obvious, Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs going up against a garbage Houston Texans defense in Houston, 8,100 on DraftKings, projected for 25.5 fantasy points. The Chiefs are first in implied point total with 31.75, 14-point favorites, 13.9 optimal percentage with an 11 boom percentage. Obviously, we saw last week that Dallas Cowboys game. I talked about it on these Contenders videos about how, hey, maybe the Cowboys are going to be up by so much that they kind of don't want to punch down and they bench Dak in like the second half. Well, we didn't see that at all because the Texans kind of went tit for tat with the Cowboys. Very fun game. Don't think that'll be the case though this week with the Kansas City Chiefs, as I think they lay it on to the Houston Texans. Now we move to the running back position, beginning at number 8 with David Montgomery of the Chicago Bears going up against the Philadelphia Eagles this week, 6,300. James Conner of the Cardinals going up against the Broncos in Denver, 6,900. Alvin Kamara of the Saints going up against the Atlanta Falcons, 6,800. At number 5, we have Latavius Murray of the Denver Broncos going up against the Arizona Cardinals at home in Mile High, $5,100, projected for 14.6 fantasy points, 22nd in implied point total with 20, 3-point favorites up against the Arizona Cardinals and Colt McCoy, 17.9 optimal percentage, 11.9 boom percentage. Cortland Sutton out. Kendall Hinton out. Russell Wilson out. It's going to be Brett gripping it and ripping it under center. So my best bet is that up against a putrid Arizona Cardinals defense, that the Broncos are going to run the rock gently down the stream, and we are going to see an ass load of Latavius Murray in this spot. Latavius Murray, in terms of efficiency, has been awful this season. He has been atrocious. But he's going to keep getting the ball, keep getting fed the rock, and even if he's not the most talented player, it's not the hardest to do up against the Cardinals, especially if your team's going to commit to running the ball very heavily. At number 4, we have Ramondre Stevenson of the Patriots going up against the Raiders in Viva Las Vegas, $70,000, or it's not $70,000, $7,000 on DraftKings. Now, Stevenson, if I'm keeping it 100 right now, I don't believe that Stevenson's going to end up playing, but it's still up in the air. We haven't gotten anything official that he's out just yet. Projected for 18.4 fantasy points, 16th in implied point total with 21.75, tied with the Titans. 1-point dogs, 19.2 optimal percentage, a 12.4 boom percentage. If Stevenson misses and Damian Harris plays, then I'm playing Damian Harris. But if Stevenson and Harris miss, this is one of those scenarios where you are going to pull your hair out trying to determine which of the other running backs is going to be good for the Patriots. And the answer might be that none of them end up being any good. But if Stevenson plays, man, oh man, is this a wet dream matchup. At number 3, we have Travis Etienne Jr. of the Jacksonville Jaguars going up against the Dallas Cowboys at home in Jacksonville, $6,000 on DraftKings, projected for 16.6 fantasy points. The team is 14th in applied point total, tied with the Indianapolis Colts. 4-point dogs, 21.6 optimal percentage, 13.8 boom percentage. Now, I know over the last few weeks, if you played Travis Etienne, you were sick to your fucking stomach watching the games because he wasn't getting a lot of volume, and he wasn't being very effective with the volume that he was getting. But ultimately, this guy is still the clear number 1 running back on the Jaguars in what could be an incredibly high-scoring game, and he is also a running back. He's not like Derrick Henry, who can't really catch passes. Now, I know Henry's been catching a little bit more passes this year, but you get what I mean, right? He's no fucking stone hands player, right? You throw the ball to Etienne, he could make something crazy happen. He just hasn't done it over the last couple of games. So what happens if this is the game, after everyone gets nervous because Etienne has screwed him over for the last couple of weeks? That's kind of my way of thinking of things. People are going to be nervous. They're going to be scared. Knees weak, arms are heavy, mom's spaghetti is ready, and I'm going to roll with Etienne this week, even though it might make your butthole a little bit tight starting Travis Etienne. At number 2, we have Derrick Henry of the Tennessee Titans going up against the LA Chargers in LA, 8,000. Last week, I was all over the Derrick Henry train. It made perfect sense going up against the Jaguars, but ultimately, despite running for 1,000,000 yards in the first half, he didn't pay off how I thought he would. Projected for 20.6 fantasy points this week up against a bad Chargers run defense. Team is 16th in applied point total with 21.75, tied with the Patriots. 3-point dogs, 21.6 optimal percentage with a 15.4 boom percentage. We all know that up against a bad run defense, Derrick Henry could break a slate, especially up against a defense with the skill level of the LA Chargers. So again, $8,000, pretty hefty price tag, right? Second most expensive guy at the running back position, but up against the Chargers, And with how Tannehill's looked, I think they're going to keep trying to run the ball a lot. Before we move on to the final, most optimal running back here, then we go to the wide receivers and the tight ends. I would like to give you guys a quick word for our friends and our sponsor over at BetMGM. Now, we have a great offer for you guys. You can get 2 free months of Stokastic Plus Platinum and up to a $1,000 risk-free bet when you sign up, make a deposit, and make your first wager at BetMGM using the link in the video description. If your risk-free bet loses, a refund will be issued in site credit. All you got to do is create a free Stokastic membership using the form down below in the comment section, or log in if you already have an existing account on Stokastic. Click on the BetMGM button that appears after registering or logging in, then complete the necessary steps with BetMGM. After you create a sportsbook account on there, all you got to do is deposit at least $10. You can make the $1,000 risk-free bet if you want as well. Make your first paid bet, and once that bet settles, then you will qualify for your free 2+ months of Stokastic Plus Platinum. All of our tools for NFL for free, as well as the NBA. So make sure you guys click on the link in the video description down below to activate the offer. Seems pretty good to me. At number 1 here, we move to Josh Jacobs of the Las Vegas Raiders going up against the New England Patriots at home in Viva Las Vegas. $8,100 projected for 22.4 fantasy points. The Raiders are 12th in implied point total with 22.75. 1-point favorites, 23.8 optimal percentage, 19.6 boom percentage. Even though he's going up against the Patriots, and this man's something's messed up with him. He might be fucking like, you've ever seen that video in Madden where it's like Greg Jennings, you know what I'm talking about, where he's running with his leg broke? That's like Josh Jacobs, but his arm's all fucked up. But even up against the Patriots, this guy is the Raiders offense. Him and Devontae Adams. They might hand this motherfucker the ball 30 times. 30 times. And based upon what we saw last week against the Rams, he could be in a fucking wheelchair and they'd roll him out there. So Josh Jacobs should be in for a pretty solid game. A lot of people are going to be playing Jacobs. I'm going to be on the ETN train, but if I want to pay up big, I'm going to be all over Josh Jacobs. I love Josh Jacobs, man. This guy is downright incredible. Crazy that the team didn't pick up his 5th-year option. Next up, we move to the wide receiver position, beginning at number 8 with Treylon Burks of the Titans going up against the Chargers. In LA, 4,600. His availability up in the air. Same thing goes with T. Higgins of the Bengals going up against the Bucks in Tampa, 6,900. Zay Jones, who absolutely destroyed last week's slate of the Jaguars, going up against the Cowboys, 4,900. At number 5, we have my guy, Amon-Ra St. Brown of the Detroit Lions going up against the New York Jumbo Jets in MetLife, $7,800 projected for 18.2 fantasy points. Lions are 15th in implied point total with 21.5, 1.5 point dogs, 13.5 optimal percentage, 9.3 boom percentage. My biggest worry about Amon-Ra here has nothing to do with him. It's the fact that Zach Wilson is under center for the Jets, and Zach Wilson might not be able to push this game to be a super high-scoring tit-for-tat, back-and-forth, rock'em sock'em robots-esque affair. This game might end up being a certified ass-whooping by the Lions, where they're running the ball a lot late and don't have to throw late into the game, because with Mike White under center, you knew this one was going to be fireworks. Going to be a fun game, back-and-forth fun affair. But with Zach Wilson and how he's looked this year, this game might end up being a dud, and I think that's going to scare a lot of people away from Mr. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Same thing goes with the fact that he's priced at $7,800. At number 4, we have Keenan Allen of the LA Chargers going up against the Tennessee Titans at home in LA, $6,800. Projected for 16.6 fantasy points. The Chargers are 6th in implied point total with 24.75 on the week. They are 3-point favorites up against the Titans, 14.4 optimal percentage with an 11.8 boom percentage. Now, this matchup isn't the greatest on paper, but again, the LA Chargers are downright incredible when everything is clicking at the proper capacity, which it is right now. Keenan Allen, one of the silkiest route runners in the NFL, in a pretty decent matchup. Again, I'm a huge fan of Herbert this week. The price tag at $6,800 might be a little lofty compared to what we've seen this season out of Keenan Allen. He's very safe. The safe, wrap 2 condoms around your DFS team doesn't necessarily always help you win that big prize pool, but the upside is definitely there. With Keenan Allen at number 3, we have my guy Chris Olave of the Saints going up against the Falcons, $6,500. Some people who only watch the DFS content that I make might be like, Nick, how do you have so many guys? From the fantasy football content I make. I love all these guys. Projected for 15.3 fantasy points, the Saints are 7th in implied point total with 23.75, tied with the Bengals, 3.5 point favorites, 15.8 optimal percentage, 9.9 boom percentage. I love Olave, the player. The biggest thing handicapping him from booming for 30-plus points in any given game, especially a matchup up against the garbage Atlanta Falcons defense, is Andy Dalton. The Red Rifle just has not been great this season. I'd prefer if Jameis was under center, but Dennis Allen is a bit of a silly goose, and he does not want to roll Jameis Winston, eat a W Winston out there. So Chris Olave, I like your style. I like the player that he is. I just worry about Andy Dalton, man, and it sucks. At number 2, we have Garrett Wilson, who I have hit the panic button on, of the Jets going up against the Lions. $6,000 projected for 15.3 fantasy points. Team is 11th in implied point total with 23. 1.5 point favorites in this game. 16.5 optimal percentage. 11.1 boom percentage. I think that a lot of people are going to be with me, being nervous, a little scared of Garrett Wilson. And I think that's going to mean that his ownership is going to be lower. And typically, once everyone is like, oh, this is a clear fade, stay away from Garrett Wilson, then Garrett Wilson is going to fucking smash in this spot. I'm really worried because I don't like Zach Wilson. I don't think he's very good. Mormon Mahomes is absolute dog shit, but Garrett Wilson, he's got that dog in him. At number 1, we got CeeDee Lamb, the Lambster of the Dallas Cowboys, going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville. 7,300 projected for 17.8 fantasy points. The team is 3rd in implied point total with 26, tied with the Vikings, 4-point favorites. 17.2 optimal percentage with a 12 boom percentage up against a really bad Jaguars defense. Again, I think this should be a really high-scoring game. CeeDee Lamb shit the bed in a big way last week. A lot of people, including myself, were heavily invested in CeeDee Lamb. I think I ran 15-ish lineups last week. Most of them with CeeDee Lamb. Didn't work out too well, but it is what it is, as they say. I wouldn't count him out, though, after one bad game, right? You shouldn't write him off, because he'll write back. Quote, Geno Smith. Final position here. Switching it up to the tight ends here. At number 8, we have Greg Dulcich of the Broncos going up against the Arizona Cardinals. Broncos country. Let's ride. $3,600. My guy, Chig Okonkwo. Monday I'll learn how to pronounce his name. I tried. Still can't do it. Tennessee Titans of the Titans going up against the Chargers in LA, 3,100. Jordan Atkins, Houston Texans, going up against the Chiefs in Houston, 2,700. At number 5, where the true breakdown begins, Hunter Henry of the New England Patriots going up against the Las Vegas Raiders. We're not going to scream every single time, right? You've already heard it a couple of times. $3,300. Before we break down Hunter Henry, smash that like button down below and that subscribe button if you have enjoyed and you are new. Make sure you do it. It's free. Got any questions? Leave them down below. Love to talk to you guys down there. Projected for 17.4 fantasy points. Patriots are 16th in implied point total with 21.75, tied with the Titans. 1 point dogs. Woof, woof. 7.9 optimal percentage. 5 boom percentage. This game, again, I am hoping that we end up seeing the Raiders play good here, but we all know Bill Belichick probably owns Josh McDaniels anyways. Hunter Henry has been decent, hit or miss, touchdown or bust, but that can be said with about every single tight end, aside from, like, Travis Kelce. At number 4, we have Eazy-E, Evan Ingram, who also went balls deep into the Jags defense, or not to the Jags defense, the Titans defense last week, going up against the Cowboys this week, 3,800, projected for 8.7 fantasy points. Team is 14th in implied point total, tied with the Indianapolis Colts. 4-point dogs, 8 optimal percentage, 5.1 boom percentage. A lot of the times, you'll be called a bit of a fucking idiot if you ride with the players that were hot last week. Lawrence been hot the last couple of weeks. Dallas defense, good, but, exposed a little by Houston. I think Evan Ingram could have back-to-back solid games, especially at $3,800. That seems a little low, but then when you actually, look at the receipts, you look at his season so far, it starts to make sense because very hit or miss. At number 3, we got Gerald Everett of the Chargers going up against the Titans, 4,300, projected for 9.6 fantasy points, 9.3 optimal percentage, 6.1 boom percentage. Chargers are 6th in implied point total, and they are 3-point favorites in this spot. Some people argue that the fact that Mike Williams, Keenan Allen are both healthy, that hurts Gerald Everett, but I argue the opposite direction. While he might not see as many targets, he's going to get more opportunity to score if the team can move the ball into the red zone to where they could throw the ball to Gerald Everett. So while Everett hasn't been the definition of consistency this season, now with Allen and Mike Williams back, I think Everett might be at his maximum power. At number 2, we have Dalton Schultz of the Cowboys going up against the Jaguars in Jacksonville, 4,400. It's safe to say that the tools like the Cowboys this week, who would have known against the Jaguars that would be the case? Projected for 11.2 fantasy points. The team is third in implied point total with 26, tied with the Vikings. 4-point favorites, 14.3 optimal percentage, 11.2 boom percentage. In terms of all the tight ends that we're going to talk about today, this guy is the closest to the echelon of Travis Kelce, and there's still like a wide fucking gap between the two. Matchup's great. A lot of cooks in the kitchen in Dallas. Seems like there's going to be even more. T.Y. Hilton is there. What a fucking throwback to like 2015. Last time that fucker was good. But Dalton Schultz should be interesting, especially at the price point. I think a lot of people are going to get to him. If I am doing Dallas stacks, though, it's going to be CD, Dak, and Dalton Schultz basically every time, unless I try to get cute, maybe include Noah Brown. But I'm a big fan of Dalton Schultz. At number 1, we have, you guessed it, Travis Kelce of the Chiefs going up against the Texans in Houston, 7,800, projected for 19.7 fantasy points. Chiefs are first in applied point total with 31.75. They are 14-point favorites, 22.8 outdoor percentage, 20.3 boom percentage. If you don't want to fuck around with all of these low-priced players that might be boom, might be bust, just play Kelce. But everyone's thinking that. DK knows that. That's why he's priced at $7,800. Again, the matchup against the Texans is a wet dream. But will the Chiefs roll the points onto him? Or will this be one where we see Kelce and the Chiefs get benched? That's the price you got to pay. You got to consider it. But I definitely consider it because I love Kelce in this spot. And it's so funny when people shit on Kelce because he has like a down game. And his down game is like what you would dream of. Like some of these other tight ends, let's for instance, Kelce's bad game is Greg Dulcich's peak, basically. It's just so funny that how many levels there are to the tight end position. So thank you guys all so much for watching. If you ended up enjoying, make sure you smash that subscribe button down below as well as hit that like button. It would help me out a ton. Check out that BetMGM $1,000 risk-free bet offer link in the video description. I love you guys all so much. I hope you have a great rest of your guys' day. And as always, goodbye.